last year's Thanksgiving Day game, the Durfee Hilltoppers return home to try and take back the Turkey Trophy from the visiting New Bedford Whalers. Live football coverage on Fred TV and New Bedford Cable Network is next. Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm Evan Massoud, joined by Joe Cabral, of New Bedford Cable Network, as Fred TV and New Bedford join forces for this year's game to bring both communities live coverage.
Yeah, excited to be here today, Evan, and two teams on the rebound here in 2019. New Bedford coming off a fine 7-3 season. Durfee, after a rough 2018, 4-6 last year.
That's right.
4-6 this year.
4-6 this year. It's been a great bounce back. We also have Chris Santos from New Bedford out on the field. He'll be reporting for us as well. So three-man broadcast for you today on Thanksgiving. So, Joe, you mentioned, the Whalers really had a great season this year. They were 6-5 last year. They took the Thanksgiving Day game to finish above 500. This year, 7-3. They won their first 6. What's been different for them this year from last year?
Well, I think as opposed to what we've seen the last few years, the Whalers have been able to play relatively mistake-free football. And with that, avoiding penalties and turnovers, they had a 6-0 start to start the 2019 campaign. Then they had a very tough loss at home against Brockton. In that one, two teams back and forth. Whalers throughout that one in the game, and a real opportunity to come away with a win there. And that would have set them up for the playoffs a bit better. But with the loss against Brockton, they had to go on the road and suffered 2 consecutive road losses before last week, defeating Marshfield at home to end up at 7-3.
I don't know what it is. There's something in the water in Brockton. Brockton's football team is always so tough. They beat up on Durfee a few weeks ago as well, so Brockton really took care of the South Coast teams.
Yeah, it was a very physical game at New Bedford this year, and lots of penalties, especially on the Brockton side, but they were able to overcome those penalties and defeat the Whalers and set up, again, the tough road course in the postseason that New Bedford was not able to navigate to advance beyond the first round. So New Bedford here today, Evan, like Durfee, looking for a big win on Thanksgiving Day. Records, we traditionally come back with the trite saying, throw the records out the window on Thanksgiving Day and just look and see how the two teams play. I think, again, mistake-free football, weather not the best. Field will be a bit wet here today, so certainly avoiding mistakes will be key.
You mentioned Brockton. The final scores. Brockton beat New Bedford 15-8 back on October 26th, and then defeated Durfee 49-8. Really lopsided game on October 19th. So Brockton saw Durfee and New Bedford back-to-back weeks, and they took both games.
Yeah, and I think, Evan, here, New Bedford's strength all season long has been on the offensive side of the football. Nigel Palmer at running back. And then the emergence of Ethan Medeiros at quarterback. Started off the season really as kind of a bit player, get the ball to Palmer, work with Shahid Barrows in the passing game a bit. But then as the season unfolded, Medeiros continued to improve his play. And against Marshfield, Palmer was out with an illness, and it was really Medeiros who led the Whalers back from an early deficit to win that one against Marshfield.
Yeah. Well, Medeiros certainly has been a catalyst for this team. You mentioned the offense. I think that's definitely the Whalers' strong point. They're averaging 30 points a game. They've put up 307 points in 10 games, so 30 points a game on offense. But they've given up some points as well. You can score on them.
Yeah, they've had their moments defensively, but the defense is also broken down. And you see one of the losses, a very, very tough loss against Zavarian, where they scored over 40 points and were not able to defeat the Hawks. So New Bedford, again, you would look today for the football primarily staying in the hands of Nigel Palmer and the quarterback Ethan Medeiros. But Shahid Barrows is an outstanding two-way player, both as a wide receiver and a defensive back for New Bedford. So keep an eye out for Shahid Barrows here today as well.
For sure. I actually got to talk with Shahid and Ethan at practice last week, and we'll be hearing from some of the players later on in the broadcast at halftime. But, for now, we're going to hear from New Bedford coach Mark DeBrito. When I did go to practice, I got to speak with him as well. Always a pleasure to see Coach. And, he talked about this annual tradition and why it's so important to play football on Thanksgiving morning.
With this rivalry. So it's Thanksgiving and all the changes that are going on in the playoff system and the scheduling with all these different programs. We keep this one, and I know RID, Coach Tarpey, doesn't want to change it because of the history. So it's important to us as a city. I know it's important to Durfee as a city and the city of Fall River. So I think that gives them the motivation to get after it and be out here working hard to try to be successful. This game's a tough game, and I think you sacrifice your body a little bit more. I think like after this game, I'm going to have some months off. I can rest, so I can just leave it all on the line. So there's a lot of that goes into it. And then at the end of the year, most teams, you're playing a little bit better. You're executing a little bit better. And, so I think a lot of that adds to a great Thanksgiving game.
The New Bedford Whalers. So again, the Whalers are the reigning champs for this 100-plus year rivalry. We're a little discrepancy on which game it is, but we think this is the 125th year, the anniversary. The 100th was, we're told, back in '94. There's some commemorative baseball caps showing that was the 100th. So this year, 25 years later, kind of a milestone year, 125 between these two schools. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of like birthdays before the 20th century. A little hard to nail down exactly. So there were some years where the two teams met twice a year on Thanksgiving Day and then during the regular season as well. So thereby the discrepancy, 125 times they've met, 127 times they've met. Either way, it's a lot of times.
That's for sure. All right, now on the other side, we'll talk a little Hilltoppers before the national anthem and the teams come out. Durfee, we mentioned, winless last year, 4-6 this year, could very easily be 6-4. Two very tough losses for Durfee on the season that really could have gone both ways, and I think many here at least think Durfee should have taken the Dartmouth game, and then Fian just 2 weeks ago, they lost on a field goal with like 11 seconds to go, but they were tied. So two very close games. Jay Hall, a sophomore, the youth movement here at Mac Aldridge Field. He's got 1,000 yards on the season. He could be looking at a 2,000-yard back by the time he's done.
Yeah, and it's good to see that Durfee has been able to figure out the offensive side of the game over the last couple of years. They've struggled moving the football, but not in 2019. So, again, look for this one maybe to be a high-scoring game. It's hard to tell. Wind is blowing a bit here across the field, away from the booth toward the new construction. And then, again, when the ball's wet, turnovers will play a key role. And we've talked a lot, Evan, during the regular season, Chris and I, about the fact that with the rule changes, one of the prime rule changes is only 3 timeouts per half. So coaches are much more involved in managing the time when they need to call a timeout. And we used to see timeouts being called very early in the game. Now coaches have a tendency to hold back a bit for when they really need those timeouts.
That's right. And, to keep the pace of the game going, I actually love it. I'm in favor of it. But
yeah,
you see the Whalers hitting the field now. Durfee will soon follow. Much like the Whalers, they're a tight-knit group. Durfee's a tight-knit group. This group of sophomores on the team, they were part of the Pop Warner football team for the Fall River Falcons that made it to Florida for the national championships. They had a championship run just a few years back. So they know each other very well. Much like New Bedford, the senior core on this team, they were the undefeated freshmen just 3 seasons ago. So both teams have that chemistry together. I think it's just going to be, to your point, mistake-free football is what's going to win this game.
Yeah, and New Bedford has done a much better job of that here in 2019, and obviously Durfee as well with the improved record. So we're going to have to see how it plays out here today. But weather, again, somewhat of a factor, but certainly a lot warmer than some of the Thanksgiving Day games we've done as of late.
Like last year.
Yes, exactly.
This booth tends to radiate the heat a little bit, so if the sun comes back out, we might actually warm up a little bit.
Well, Chris and I have actually done some games in the stands here,
wow.
And we have had a few cold ones.
Sure.
So today it's very welcoming to be in the booth and behind the glass.
All right, we're going to hear from Durfee head coach Taylor Brown. as I got to speak with him during practice this week as well. And, you know, he goes back to the years of when he played and when he coached. He's seen success and he's seen defeat. He's trying to push forward and show the team how important Thanksgiving is as well. So this is Coach Taylor Brown from the Hilltoppers.
Always to battle, to finish to the end. And I think that, you know, past few seasons we have shown that, you know, we battle with the best, and, you know, hopefully this year we can finish it out. And last time it was here, that was a great game to be a part of as well, with the goal line stands and all that, and with a bunch of seniors playing. So it's definitely a great experience. We look forward to it as coaches. You know, almost all of our coaching staff graduates, and we look forward to this. It's a special day for us, special day for alumni. You know, it's a special day for everybody involved. So we're just hoping for a good outing, and they've been a very good group to coach, very responsive. You know, battled all year, lost a couple tight games, and, you know, we're a few games away from being 6-4 rather than 4-6, and I think they know that. I think they know that if they put effort into the offseason, that we're going to have a pretty productive senior and junior year for them. So it's a pretty tight-knit group. They all get along very well. They played football, you know, since they were 6 years old together. So we're really excited about the group, and are looking forward to the upcoming seasons.
One of the things, Joe, that we continue to hear as well, and you mentioned it at the top of the broadcast, is the records just go out the window. They're somewhere in the wind floating over Mac Aldridge Field right now. It doesn't matter 7-3. It doesn't matter 4-6. It's nothing right now, and this is the only game that matters.
Yeah, just like a postseason matchup, the two teams really don't look across the field and see someone with a record that's better than theirs. They've come into the game thinking we can win this one, and we plan on winning it. And it's it's such a great rivalry that spurs the two teams on even more.
You see in the backdrop here, it's both bands are playing together, as they always do at the start of the broadcast, at the start of the game. Right behind you, the new Durfee High School, Durfee 3.0. Let me tell you, Joe, when we got here in September to start the fall season, there wasn't barely anything up, just a few scaffolding stairs and a few beams, and now the whole shell is up in 2.5 months. It's really incredible, the progress here. So that's big news here in Fall River. You know, we're getting to see the progress firsthand, you know, every week, coming out here doing games for Fred TV. So it's really been amazing to see the construction.
Yeah, I mean, it looks absolutely spectacular, even though it's just really the frame of the new building. Certainly a grand improvement here over the existing structure.
All right, the national anthem will be coming up in just a second. I believe we have Chris Santos on the field standing by, so we're going to say hello to Chris. Happy Thanksgiving, sir. How is it down on field level?
Good morning, gentlemen. Evan, happy Thanksgiving to you and you up there too, Joe. It's a windy day down here, definitely. The field looks like it's in great condition, but the wind will be a factor, especially in special teams, punts, trying to receive kickoff. So look for that to be a big factor of the game here this morning.
The good news, Chris, is that at least the rain has stopped, and I don't think that we will see any more rain as the game goes on. So the field may be wet, but at least there shouldn't be anything coming from the sky.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. Like I said, I think it's the wind that's coming from your press box going right across the field. So look for that to be a factor in the passing game, and maybe expect a little bit more running than normal here this morning.
All right, Chris, we will check back with you in a bit. We're going to take a pause here, listen to the bands play the Star-Spangled Banner as we honor America with the national anthem.
See you in a few, guys.
right, beautiful job by the Whalers Marching Band and the Hilltoppers Marching Band. We are just seconds away from kickoff, and we have a very special guest here in the booth. You see him right here to my right, former head coach Steve Winarski. I have wanted to have you on for a long time, but you went over and you started coaching at Diamond, so you weren't available for me. But this year, so glad that you could join us for a little bit in the booth. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you,
Happy
Evan.
Thanksgiving.
Coach.
Yep, thank you.
So, Coach, I know you're going to talk about a little bit of the history here of these two schools. You know, you're part of so many games here in the history of Durfee High School. So, you know, run us down some of your experiences on Thanksgiving morning.
First of all, I'd like to wish our viewers a happy Thanksgiving and a healthy one. And during this game here, it doesn't get any better than this. Howie Long, who played for the Raiders and went to so many Super Bowls, he played for Milford, and he said this was the most important game in his lifetime. So for these young players out here, student athletes, anything can happen on any given day. And we had some great games through the years. I can bring you back to '72. We haven't beaten New Bedford in a while, and Coach Frank Faraz, scored like a 60-yard run down the sideline for a 6-0 win. And then we went on to not get another win until 1983. When we just had to pound the ball on that. And, you know, Bedford's always has a bevy of athletes in that. And here we go with the kickoff.
It's going to be a squib kick on the ground. Wind could be a factor. It already knocked the ball off the tee once. It is taken by David Abalawinra, and he will be stopped at the 35. A short kickoff and a short return for the Whalers, who will start with the ball.
Yeah, Abalawinra, Evan, we'll see him some at running back here today, but primarily will line up at wide receiver when he's in the lineup.
So it'll be 1st and 10 Whalers at their own 35. Decent field position to start it. So, Coach, you know, more recently, you know, some of your later seasons, Durfee had a 3-game winning streak in the mid-2000s. That was part of my graduating year, the Mud Bowl. That's one of the most famous games, you know, in recent years, as Medeiros is picked off to start the game. His first pass of the day is picked off by Jaden Lewis of the Hilltoppers.
Well, that's
Yeah,
it.
ball that was definitely underthrown, Evan and Coach.
And that's what you have to have in these big games, turnovers. And we talk about that to our players, about having turnovers and secure the ball and don't give any momentum change to the other team and giving them easy scores. So Durfee's got the first turnover, so that's great.
Going back to that Mud Bowl, though, back in fall of 2006, would you say that's one of the worst conditions that you guys ever played in and coached in? Because I'll tell you, it was brutal from a fan standpoint.
Well,
passing on first down, Isaiah Thomas, it is complete. A first down and then some, and he stepped out of play.
Well, I think the worst one was 1999 when Balistracci and Walsh, there was water all over the field. And I think Balistracci almost drowned on the sidelines in front of our bench in that. He went through a big puddle of water, made a big wave in that. But that was treacherous. You couldn't get any footing, and they ended up taking a 19-0 lead, and we came back in the second half.
And, of course, that was the old stadium.
Yes.
So there was mud. There was no turf. So Hilltoppers with a first down here. They're going to hand it off on 1st and 10 to Jay Hall. There was a flag, multiple penalty marks, 3 in fact. Everybody's throwing the flags, Joe.
Yeah, usually when the flag comes from the back judge, it's indicative of a holding call. So anticipate a holding call here against the Hilltoppers.
And that's another thing that I know the coaches talk about. Hey, no penalties and drive that. Those penalties like that can hurt a drive.
It's actually a personal foul, a face mask on the Whalers.
Oh, okay, we caught
Well,
it.
it's not always a holding
I
call.
guess
So
no, that's
that
right,
time-
yeah.
That time, and that's usually the only call that can happen from that back judge when it's a defensive call on a running play.
Well, Joe, I think in your years broadcasting, you would agree with me that anytime we try to assume anything, they prove us wrong immediately.
A good portion of the time.
First and goal for the Hilltoppers in the opening minute after the interception. Handoff, touchdown, Hilltoppers. Did he get in? It
Looks
sure
like
looks
the
like
ball's
it.
on the turf.
Oh, a fumble recovery on the goal line. And, you know, we don't have any replays to know if he broke the plane before. So it appears that Montero did indeed fumble the ball.
Looks like they'll mark it right at about the 2-yard line on the fumble recovery. So
we talk about, we take a look at the replay, we talk about mistake-free football. Well, 2 turnovers in the first 45 seconds. The Hilltoppers should have had a touchdown right there, and it's negated because of the fumble at the basically right at the goal line, maybe the 1 yard line.
Yeah, that's a big one right there because Durfee was going in to score, and now the momentum switches to New Bedford now because they dodged the bullet.
Huge bullet. So now, the Hilltoppers going to get to see this New Bedford offense go to work here, and New Bedford's going to have a very long field, Joe. Right from, working from the end zone is Medeiros.
Yeah, use the power eye set there, but from the shotgun look, so they gave it to Nigel Palmer, who went off right tackle for a gain of about 3 on the play. Palmer's first carry of this Thanksgiving Day contest.
Chris, down on the field, did you see that play? How did it unfold from the goal line? You were pretty far down the field.
Yeah, guys, no, that was right at the 1 yard line right there, and Durfee was about to go in. They had a great block up front, and he dove in, but the ball was punched out. Thought it was going to go in the end zone. Instead, it just ended up right at the 1 yard line, so New Bedford is very lucky.
Very lucky indeed. So, again, the pick for Medeiros, and now the fumble for the Hilltoppers, Montero. So 2 turnovers, 1 for either side. So hopefully that negates, and we'll see some clean football now the rest of the way.
Yeah, we're on an artificial turf, but the ball still gets wet from being placed on the turf, and you expect to see turnovers today. And teams coach coming into this one, I'm sure, with a little bit of nerves. It's such a big game.
Yeah, so, it was probably a little bit of nerves down there, and everybody's going to be swatting for the ball down there to try to get a turnover, which New Bedford did. Okay, and we might not dodge the bullet here, too. If we get good field position, gives Durfee the ball back, and maybe they can capitalize on this one here.
Yeah, looking for O'Shawn Brooks on the outside there. Medeiros is now 0 for 2 in the passing game, and the Whalers will be forced to punt, Evan.
Yep, going to bring up 4th and 4 after the incomplete pass, and New Bedford will be punting from almost the back of the end zone, so a good snap here is key. Anything off the mark could be troublesome for the Whalers.
Whalers have had a hard time with their exchange, with their snap, but this time a good clean snap, and Barros will get one away. That's a wobbly kick, tumbling down just across the 40-yard line, and then out of bounds at about the 42 of the Hilltoppers, so good field position for Durfee, Evan.
It will be. So both times the Durfee's offense will take the field, they're going to be on New Bedford's side, and that's always a good place to be. One of the former Hilltoppers, one of my classmates from 2007, he was the QB, B.J. McDonald. He did a couple games with me this year, and he always says, just play in front of the chains. 3 yards here, 4 yards there, 4 yards there. Small ball, if you will.
Yep, and he did
just
a good
keep
job.
It going.
He did a good job in that mud bowl in 2006 there up in New Bedford.
We'll never forget the, I guess you could say, the Hail Mary pass to Timmy Powers down the field. And, of course, Timmy, one of the assistant coaches for Taylor Brown, who was also one of your players, Coach.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Timmy was a punter in that, and he showed some gut because they were on him one time, and he got out of a jam, and he kicked it left-footed. I didn't know he was a soccer player, but he was a right-footed kicker.
So a switch kicker.
And I tell you, he was the toughest kid, pound for pound, and he used to run that kind of crisscross. And we get New Bedford in a couple of years. That drove Dennis Golding nuts. He said he knows it's coming, but we can't stop it.
Right. Coach Brown actually said to me, he said, I asked him what his favorite memory was, and he said it was winning on Thanksgiving as a player because it had snapped, was it 18 games in a row?
17 years.
17 years in a row as the Hilltoppers take a timeout. So 17 years in a row, Joe.
Years.
That's a long winning streak. I mean, that's really, that's 4 graduating classes that never got to see a win in terms of the Hilltoppers.
And that was an outstanding season because we ended up 9-1-1, and we tied Brockton. We had to beat New Bedford that day to get to the Super Bowl. And we had it in hand, I think, most of the way because it was a 24-0 game. Kohler, who was going to the Super Bowl again for the second year in a row, West Bridgewater, he kicked the field goal right before the half, made it 10-0, and that was a little breathing room for us. And our defense did the rest. We had good coverage, like the Patriots. They have Gilmore. We had Miguel Concepcion shutting down the top receiver, especially the guy from New Bedford, the Brockton team there, who went on to Boston College and got a play at the BC High there, and he did an outstanding job. So we had some good players come through, but that was probably the most exciting year for football for Durfee that I've been entailed with.
I know, Coach, you've plenty of years seeing these games. Joe, how about you on your side? I mean, you've been doing this a long time. What, some of your favorite memories for the Whalers?
Well, the Whalers had their glory days, obviously, in the mid to late 90s, and then maybe a dry period of time over the last 6, 7, 8 years. But we always, on Thanksgiving Day, remember the big games like the Mud Bowl, which was an outstanding contest. And actually, you actually, on a Thanksgiving Day game, look for inclement weather and kind of like it when you see it. But with artificial turf now at most of the stadiums, the weather doesn't play the same type of factor that it did in the past.
Third and a long 3 coming here after Holly got them almost there. A dive forward, I think, is going to be just a hair short, maybe a yard short for Jay Hall. Yeah, the spot's actually maybe half a yard. It's going to be very close.
Yeah, New Bedford's defense in these games has improved as the games have worn on. Once they kind of get a feel for what the offense is trying to do. And you can see at that first drive, the Whalers really struggled, doing a bit better here. Key 4th and 1 here, Evan. Whalers, if they could stop Durfee, kind of switch the field position part of the game.
Yeah, good spot to go for it. Would you go for it now,
Coach?
Coach?
Yeah, I get that ball.
Bad snap.
Nope, nobody can get that guy an A-gap. He just went right in untouched.
Yeah, a little wobbly snap, and
Yeah.
Najir Montero got hit by a wall. He did not go far. Actually, a loss of a yard you'll see on the replay.
Well, I think maybe that's New Bedford's strength on the line there. We have a lot of, I say we at Durfee, biased at Durfee, of course, and we get a lot of young guys up front there, and I think there's only 4 seniors on the team, so it is, they're battling New Bedford tough here. They got a high-powered offense, so.
Yeah, Whalers have a big line, Coach, and that line has played traditionally well here in 2019. That's
hole.
Nigel Palmer.
Yep.
Palmer down the field to the 10, to the 5, touchdown Whalers.
That's a 66-yard touchdown run for Nigel Palmer, and we've seen the explosive plays from Palmer during the season. And if you give him a seam, he has a lot of speed, Coach. You'll never catch Nigel Palmer from behind.
And I think you're right, Joe. That offensive line, he opened up a nice hole for him there, and that's, I guess, their strength there is up the flying. And their skill players, too, are great, too. That's what I heard coming in. And the quarterback, Medeiros there, he's an all-state wrestler, too, I heard.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so they get the skill positions, too, so they probably have the whole package.
Yeah, undersized, the quarterback, Medeiros, but definitely as tough as nails. But Palmer, the explosive part of the Whalers' offensive game, along with Shahid Barros. Now New Bedford attempting the extra point.
And try to make it 7-0 here, kicking with the windy field here. And it is no good, wide to the
All
right.
Well, that's good. That's good.
So 6-0 New Bedford, 7:56 to play in this first quarter. But I'll tell you, that really hurts again, especially after the Hilltoppers fumbled at the 1. They had a prime scoring opportunity. So we'll take a look at the replay again here on this mad dash for the first score of the game.
Yeah, 66 yards, and you see once Palmer gets ahead of the pack, you don't catch him from behind.
Coach Thomas of the Hilltoppers, Chris Thomas, who led that Fall River Falcons team to the on that championship run a few years back.
And his son's the quarterback. He's a junior, I believe.
Yep. Actually, Thomas is a sophomore.
Sophomore, okay. So they have a lot of skilled people coming back also. So the future looks bright for Durfee here. We just got to hold on here and slow New Bedford down, and we got to control the ball here.
All right, Coach. Well, I want you to get to see some of the game, too, and see some of your fans. Any last thoughts?
I just want to go back to 1999 because that was probably one of the most exciting games with Balistraci, Walsh. They scored right before the half, and then we had a personal foul, which was a personal foul. And the weather conditions was wet out there, so New Bedford coaching staff, Wayne Hamlet decided to go for 2, and they got the 2 and made it 19-0 at the half. We come back, and we was 20, I think. Yeah, they got 20, so we come back in the second half. And we had put a different offense in for the second half of that game, was to get the ball to Coach Brown, who was our quarterback, and we moved him out to like a scat back, and he just took over, and New Bedford couldn't stop him in that. And we got down there, scored 19 unanswered points, and we went for the 2, but we couldn't get a block on Balistraci. He came up and made the tackle, but it still wasn't over. We held him out for, is the kickoff here?
picked up
Come
by
on,
Javon Holly.
You got some daylight there.
Has some room on the far
Got
side. A lot of field and may have a block. Puts the shoulder down, and he's going to be taken out just shy of the 45. A good return.
So anyways, get back to that 99 game. We held them 3 and out. We still had another chance, but we ran out of downs, and our quarterback got knocked out of bounds to end the game in that. But it was an exciting game, and like I said, it was the worst field conditions that I have ever been.
Yeah, the Whalers had a powerhouse squad that season, Coach. And you
Walsh.
mentioned some of the key names, Balistraci, Walsh, etc.
And
penalty on the field.
And they usually like that drag, tight end extended across, and we knew it was coming. We still couldn't stop it, and Walsh was just too big, and he was like a Gronkowski out there. So, but I tell you, it's been a healthy relationship between the two teams. We respect each other, and we become friends. And I know all those guys over there, and same thing with these guys here. We tell them, hey, respect, play the ball game hard. You guys are gonna be friends with them down the road.
You mentioned Coach Hamlet, now an assistant coach here with the Whalers last couple of years.
Yep, and Johnny Seed. I played against Johnny Seed in '72. He was on that '72 team for New Bedford.
Thomas looking for somebody down the field, nobody open, and he is sacked for a loss in the backfield of about 3 yards. Tough way to start the drive.
Well, I should say 71 because we graduated in the '72. So, but anyways, it's nice to get back up here and see the Hilltoppers in that, and I wish they would have scored in that first drive in that. But hats off to New Bedford. They got a good ball club over there, and the future looks bright with Coach Brown and that, and his staff. Well, a lot of Durfee guys here, just like New Bedford. They all went to New Bedford, and they're coaching at New Bedford. You got Rudy Bolger over at Fairhaven, and then you got Kogler at West Bridgewater going to the Super Bowl again. So we'd like to congratulate all those guys that are helping.
Must make you feel proud, knowing that those guys that you've coached have been successful now, in the different, taking over the role that you had, basically.
And it's like Coach late Colin Lynch and late Don Montel, we're the last line of defense for some of these players because this is what they look forward to, and maybe we can sprinkle like Jordan Todman there, went to college and then went on to play for the pros, and he had some tough times in his life, and he did an excellent job. And Miguel Concepcion for us here, he became a doctor, and also Axel Hernandez, didn't have any parents, moved in with Miguel's parents. And so with that said and done, it was a happy Thanksgiving, and wish all you guys the best.
Thank you, Coach.
Joe.
Really an honor and a pleasure.
Okay.
Coach Steve Winarski,
okay,
folks.
thank you.
Thanks for stopping in for a few minutes with us.
All right, Joe, so a 3rd and 11 coming here for the Hilltoppers, who have not been able to do anything on this drive, but Thomas with a bit of a dash here, diving forward, and he may have got there. It looks like he did on a 12-yard dash.
Yeah, just across the 35-yard line, and that'll be enough for Durfee first down. On the scramble, it was a passing situation for Durfee. Take a look.
Left and right, weaving through like a slalom course, Joe. Pretty impressive run for the sophomore QB. So a fresh set of downs, and the Hilltoppers just across the 35. That was a backwards pass, almost a lateral, I think it was.
It was a lateral.
Was
wide receiver screen, but sometimes, especially at this level, the wide receiver steps back a bit too far, so that was a lateral and well handled because you can't drop the ball on a lateral. It's a free football. Gain of about 5 on the play, Evan.
You're right, the lateral, one of the more dangerous, things. I always get nervous when they do that toss, the backwards toss. At least that was more of a pass, but the backwards toss, the wobbling in the air, too many bad things can happen. So looking at 2nd and 6 officially, going to get to the 46-yard line. Oh, bad snap. That's going backwards, going to be picked up by Holly. Holly puts the shoulders down, and he actually runs into his own guy. And it may be a personal foul on this. The helmet came off and everything. We will see, but multiple penalty markers on the field.
Yeah, some late flags. Big hit from Barrows there, but as you mentioned, a late flag and a pair of flags, and usually when it's that side of the field, another face mask penalty called against the Whalers. Second time here that New Bedford has been called for a face mask. This is really costly for the Whalers as they had Durfee pinned way back after the bad snap.
So Barrows coming in. Oh, yeah, the helmet got ripped right off.
Looked like it got ripped off from behind, but regardless, that is called a face mask. So if you pull the helmet off from the back of the helmet, which is what it looked like, Evan.
Yeah, and again, Barrows here, he is a tough player. Both sides of the ball, yeah, he basically ripped it right off, and I know he's excited because he made the stop, but you can't touch the helmet. So personal foul at the spot, so it's going to be 2nd down and 12 for the Hilltoppers. 2nd and 12. And they'll hand it off. And Hall going to get pulled back. How about that? Bill Souza wrapping him up.
Yeah, Souza's been outstanding for the Whalers here in the 2019 season. Again, one of the members of the line, big front line for the Whalers, and a nice play there by Souza for a loss of about a yard on the play. That'll set up a 3rd and 12.
So another long 3rd down conversion here for the Hilltoppers. Thomas got it on their last set of downs. Now a little further out from the 34. Rolling out to his left. Looking. Going to cut back, has some open field. But he will be short this time. Tackled by Abalawinwa.
David Abalawinwa, 6'2" linebacker for the Whalers. So about 2 yards short of the first down. Officially a gain of 10 on the play. And you're in that kind of gray area where you think about going for it. And on Thanksgiving Day, coaches have a tendency to be a little more aggressive as far as going for first downs. And we'll see it here. It looks like Durfee is going to go for it on a 4th and 2 from their own 44.
And now the Hilltoppers will use their 2nd timeout here in just the first quarter. 4th and 2, I hear what you're saying. You're almost right at midfield, Joe, but I think the wind may be playing into Coach Brown's decision-making here because it is quite gusty down on the field. How was it down there for you, Chris?
Chris Santos?
I see him. He's plugging in. There he is.
Yeah, it's interesting, guys. This is a big decision right here, in my opinion. 4th and 2. You can put the momentum right back in New Bedford if they don't make this. But they've been doing it with the quarterback, and he's been able to scramble around. This is a big call right here for Coach Taylor Brown. Let's see how it makes out.
Yeah, Chris, it seems like, Thomas has been rolling out looking for some passers. He's the only one that's been open because the Whalers defense really been covering them up.
Yeah, well, that front line has been dominating Durfee right now, and they've been getting to him. So he's had to scramble. He hasn't had time to look downfield.
Evan, look for the Whalers to blitz here. They normally do on 4th down situations.
Well, there's a key block there, and can he make the cut? Yes, he does. Holly diving for the first down, and the Hilltoppers move the chains. He got a key block right in front of him. That lead blocker opened up the seam on the side.
Whalers did blitz, but as you said, Hall was able to get to the outside, enough for the first down on a gain of 4.
So a big conversion on 4th down. The gamble pays off for the Hilltoppers, and they'll have it 1st and 10 at their own 48, looking to cross midfield. Oh, another lateral. Holly making the catch as Thomas goes down to the turf. Holly putting the shoulder down and falling maybe a yard short of the first down, but again, that lateral, and that one was a bit high. Holly had to go up the ladder for it, Joe. You're playing a dangerous game with that.
Yeah, you're playing with fire, and a nice job there by Holly to come down with the swing pass. Technically a lateral, so it's a running play and a gain of about 9 on it for Holly.
So 2nd down and 1 as Durfee is in New Bedford territory. Good crowd on hand considering how the weather was literally an hour before game time. When you guys got here, the skies had opened up again. And again, we weren't really expecting that. We thought it was going to be done by 7, 8 o'clock. And trying to set the cameras up, a little hairy. So, big thanks to the Fred TV crew and the New Bedford Cable Network crew. All the work that went into bringing you this coverage. Another lateral to Jay Hall, and that's not going to pan out. I think there's a fumble as well, and New Bedford seems to think that they have it.
I think Durfee recovered. Ball went to the turf, so it was a fumble, and recovered back at the 49-yard line of the Whalers. So a loss there of about 5 on the play.
So a loss for the Hilltoppers. And again, another lateral. And I think, you got to get away from that, because right there it almost bit you. It almost cost the Hilltoppers the ball. I think you got to worry about forward progress here and stop the backward passes.
Yeah, running an option there, and then the pitch looked like the running back had the football, but it came loose, and a loss that now sets up a 3rd and a long 7.
Well, Thomas looking to pass. Rolling out, and he's going to get dragged down for a loss of more than 10 yards.
Sack on the play by the Whalers, number 50, Tyreek Williams. He's been outstanding in 2019 for the Whalers on the defensive side of the football. Got there quickly, and this time, no chance for the quarterback, Thomas, to get away.
And we want to thank Sociable as well for the broadcast truck today. We appreciate them letting us use the equipment. John Methia, we really appreciate that, bringing you this live coverage today on Thanksgiving morning. The end of the first quarter, it ends with a big sack, Joe, and the Whalers are going to force the Hilltoppers off the field. And for a little reprise here, because we love him so much, Coach Winarski, back to the booth. He's got one more story for us here during the quarter break.
Yes, the most exciting game was the 2007 game. It was the very first game played on this field here. And it went back and forth, back and forth. I think whoever had the ball last won the game. And New Bedford scored with 52 seconds to go, and they went ahead. And we still had our timeouts and that. And they kicked off. We got the ball on a 20. New Bedford went like a 3 deep, and we split them with our wide receiver. We snuck the back out of the backfield on the sideline, Cameron Ponce. And Ronnie Thomas threw a bomb. He only threw 3 passes in that game. And one of them, we got it down to the 20. And then a couple plays later, we scored a touchdown with a penalty, called it back. And then we got down with like 16 seconds to go. And Coach Faraz and Coach Patello had the right play, a down pass play, action play called. But we had to get Billy Platt out because he was our tight end, and he was dragging butt there.
The punt here from Jay Hall. Short punt goes out of play as well, and I think the Wind might have taken it.
And speaking about Hall, Bobby Hall was a basketball player, and he was a sophomore. And we told him to get that tight end spot. He says, Coach, I don't know the play. So we just told him, go in 2 steps and go to the cameraman in the corner. And sure enough, the cameraman stayed there, and he threw the pass, and we got it. But this still wasn't over because New Bedford had all the athletic ability, and we were kicking off to them. We used to tell the kids, hey, they're going to play air football, throw it around, so stay in your lanes. And, of course, the clock ran out, and we stopped them. That was the ball game. Most exciting game, back and forth. We had a 35-yard field goal right before the half, too.
So,
okay,
that
guys,
was the 3rd year in a row that Durfee had won, and actually ended up being the last time until 3 years ago when Durfee won at New Bedford. Another fumble. The Hilltopper is going to have it back.
All right.
Yeah,
okay,
Ethan
with
Medeiros'
that, I'm
first
go.
carry.
I'm going to enjoy the rest of the game, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Evan Medeiros with his first carry, running the option, kept the football, coughs it up after about a 7-yard gain.
So
they're going to say Medeiros was down by contact, and again, no replay, but we can take a look and see if that indeed was the case. I don't know if we have the replay, Evan.
Yeah, maybe we can see that one more time here. Let's see. Oh, no way.
No, ball
not
came
even
loose. Definitely,
close.
his knee was not down, and
Wow.
the ball came loose. So, again, no replay in high school football, so Whalers retain possession after a gain of 7.
Hilltoppers coaching staff jumped in surprise at the call, and you see it there on your screens at home. That was not down by contact, not even close. Here it is again, ISO'd in slow-mo. Watch the knee and watch the ball out, and Medeiros is still in stride, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
that's a bad call.
Mean, definitely a blown call there by the officials, but again, one of the negatives of having replay at every level,
right,
but high school. So certainly if they had replay here from Fred TV and the New Bedford Cable Network, they would have seen that it was indeed a fumble, and it would have been Durfee football. Instead, the Whalers have a first down after the 5-yard offside penalty against the Hilltoppers.
And what do you know, it's raining again, Joe.
Yeah, and the game has been sloppy so far. A lot of loose balls, a lot of turnovers, so you anticipate seeing that here, I think, throughout the day. And there's a flag again from the back judge. This time I would say it's probably a hold against New Bedford. Officials have a tendency when they think they might have missed a call to kind of try to make up for it at times, and I think this time it'll be a holding call against the Whalers.
Well, you're a prophet because there you go. So that's going to back up. That's a spot foul, and that'll back up the Whalers 10 yards from where it happened.
They repeat first down, so this will be one of the circumstances when you have like a first and looks like about 14.
Mm-hmm. Now, the good news is the skies did open up here, but it's just the tiniest little blurb on the radar. So I think we'll be dry in maybe 5-10 minutes time. What do you think, Chris? That fumble, it sure looked like Medeiros was not down at the point of the ball coming out.
Yeah, I thought the fumble it was absolutely not down, and I know you guys saw it. We saw it live easily. It was a fumble.
They got it to Palmer this time, Evan. Looks like he got it back to the original line of scrimmage, so a gain of about 4.
That gain of 4 gets some of the penalty yards back. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, again, we saw it on the replay, so that's a tough non-call against, that didn't go Durfee's way, and, you just got to live with it. Like you said, Joe, there's no replay, so it's just the way it is.
The spot will give Palmer 5 on the play, set up a 2nd and 9 for New Bedford. Now the Whalers have been working with the wind, and the punt from Durfee against the wind, out of bounds after only traveling 9 yards. So New Bedford with fine field position right from midfield to start this drive.
Medeiros going to hand it off to Palmer, who already scored earlier in this game, the lone touchdown. Takes it toward the far sideline. Gain of about maybe 5. 3rd and 4.
Set up a manageable 3rd and about 4, as Evan mentioned, for the Whalers, and certainly 4-down territory here. So New Bedford Whalers probably will keep the football here on the ground.
Well, again, with the I'm looking at the flagpole off to our right near the scoreboard, and the wind is just whipping it around. So I really think that the ground game is probably going to be the more favorable thing. Oh, the reverse Medeiros has plenty of room for the first down and then some more. He can fly as well.
Yeah, naked bootleg there from Medeiros. So Whalers showed the same exact formation, a full house backfield with Abelarinois in motion as a lead blocker, then fake it to Palmer, and Medeiros naked bootleg to the far side of the field, enough for a first down as he steps out at about the 22-yard line.
There it is on your replay. So the Whalers moving the chains once again, just shy of the red zone, trying to make it 2 scores. It is 6-0 as you see on your screen.
Whalers using that same look, Evan, full house backfield.
So basically the same play, but this time they do hand it off. And Palmer got taken out at the knees, twisting and falling down to the turf after a short gain about 2 yards.
Yeah, Abelarinois has been in the backfield for the Whalers only in the last few games, primarily lined up as a wide receiver early in the season. But with his size at 6'2" and 220 plus, Whalers like to use him as a lead blocker, and you've seen it there on 3 consecutive plays.
So 2nd and 8. Palmer with the handoff again, tackled at the 15. Short of the first, will bring up a 3rd and short, picked up about 4 yards. So 3rd and 4, we'll say 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4.
So Whalers playing some smart football here now, keeping the ball on the ground and staying primarily to the inside until it's late in the downs. You want to always move the chains forward. You talked about it earlier, Evan, so matriculate the ball down the field, as a former coach Hank Stram used to say.
Stood up the Hilltoppers defense.
That time they keyed Palmer and met him in the backfield for a loss of 2, and that'll set up a 4th, and it looks like about 5.
Yeah, the Hilltoppers were ready for it this time. And it's a loss of 2 yards. So as you said, Joe, 4th and 5. Met right there at the line, I believe. That was, number 78 for Durfee. That's Tajan Rattay.
Yeah, so
sophomore.
nice play there by Rattay, 5'11", 240 in our program. So got into the backfield, anticipated the handoff to Palmer, and was there for the big hit.
And a timeout taken by New Bedford, already almost halfway through this second quarter. And I'll admit I thought we'd see a little more offense to this point. And again, maybe the conditions, Joe, are kind of playing to that. But my prediction was 28-26 Durfee. I don't know if you had a number in mind. We didn't get to talk about it pregame, but any thoughts? Did you give any thought to that? We always like to, a little prop bet just for fun.
Yeah, I think with the weather today, in the 20s is where you want to be, and you'll probably win the football game because you're going to limit the amount of times you go to the air. New Bedford, when they were working against the wind, first play of the game, tried to throw the football, ended up being a turnover. Since then, they've kept it on the ground. Medeiros will roll to his right this time, then keep the football. Looks like he has enough, Evan.
He sure does. First down for the Whalers, and it might even be first and goal. I think so. It looks like he's down at the 9. So it'll be first and goal for the Whalers after a dash from Medeiros.
Yeah, Whalers like to use that play where Medeiros rolls to his right. If the receiver is open right away, he'll get rid of the football into the flat. But there instead saw that his man was covered, kept the football, able to get enough for a first down on a gain of about 6.
Well, you saw the cut back inside, and that's thanks to the key block. Abelo Renoir got the man blocked, and Medeiros, instead of cutting to the outside, cut back in thanks to his teammate providing that blockade, if you will. So first and goal at the 9. Whalers.
Again, that power eye look.
Palmer still on his feet. Now the Hilltoppers meet him after a short gain. Back him all the way up. Of course, forward progress, but he was down. That time he was down by contact.
Yeah, again, when you get pushed back, unless the football is being pulled out, once you start going backwards, they'll say forward progress, even if the ball comes loose while you're still on your feet. This time, nothing much for Palmer.
Ends up being a 3-yard pickup. Second down and goal from the 6.
Whalers have handled this drive well after the near turnover.
Unless there was a whistle, which I'm assuming there was, on the pushback, that ball did come out before he was down.
Yeah, again, forward progress. Once you start getting pushed back, the official will either rule forward progress, or if he blew the whistle.
Yeah, I just saw it in the whistle in the official's mouth, so it must have been blown already. We can't obviously hear the whistles from inside the booth here 50 yards away. So
Medeiros going to roll to his right this time.
A lot of open field, and Medeiros going to cut back, and he gets pushed into the end, actually still on his feet. And it is a touchdown for the Whalers as they're up 12-0.
Yeah, though Ethan Medeiros is listed officially in the program at 5'7", he's closer to 5'5", but Coach Winarski mentioned that he's a wrestler and he's a tough individual, and he's not afraid to lower his shoulder. And that time, Evan, he did and was able to get in from 6 yards out.
One of the last things that he said to me when I spoke with him at practice, I said, "Any final thoughts, Ethan?" He said, "Heart over height." I said, "Okay, you got it, bud." And showing it right there. He is not the biggest guy on the team, but he can move. He's got some skill, that's for sure. He's a player. Whalers are going to go for 2 here, try to make it 14-zip with 5:09 to play in the half. We want to invite you to stay for halftime because both bands are going to be playing as well.
Medeiros looked to the end zone. Pass was incomplete.
So it'll stay 12-0.
He was looking for Javensky St. Louis.
So no good on the 2-point conversion. The extra point kick was missed earlier as well. So, but the 2 touchdowns have the Whalers up 12-zip over the Hilltoppers here in the second quarter on Thanksgiving morning.
50-yard drive there for New Bedford, putting points on the board with 5:09 left in the second quarter for the 12-0 lead for the Whalers.
So again, at halftime, we will keep it here as both bands are going to be performing. We'll also get to hear from some of the players of today's games that I spoke with during halftimes. They talk about how important this big game is to them. And we're hoping, Chris down on the sideline, Chris Santos, our reporter, we're hoping that we'll get to hear from both coaches, perhaps one right at the end of the half and one at the beginning of the third quarter. So we'll we'll hope for the best. Chris, how is it down there? Is the rain finally letting up here?
Before the whistle had blown by the official on the Nigel Palmer. Coach Brown was complaining about that, but the whistle had blown and the forward progress was called. Right now it's very, very difficult to throw the ball, and I think it's just going to be a lot of running, maybe a little bit by Durfee here with 5 minutes to go. It depends on the field position, but very difficult to throw.
Well, the Hilltoppers already burned 2 timeouts in that first quarter, so they only got the 1 to work with. Will that be a problem here in terms of running the football with only 5 minutes? Good return. And taken down across the 50. The Hilltoppers will have good field position here on this drive after a great return.
That was Javon Hawley on the return, got it across the 50 all the way to the New Bedford 49. So you were talking about how much time left on the clock with only 1 timeout, but now with the football at the 49, should be plenty of time if they can move it on the ground. But for Durfee, it's been difficult between the tackles. The only real offense they've had has been when they've been able to get the football to the outside.
Yeah, I think the key here, you don't want to go into the half if you're Durfee, down 12-0. You really need a score here. Durfee will get the ball to start the second half as well. Another pitch back. Jay Hall has been really shut down in this one. Trying to cut in, and he's going to lose yards on that carry.
You have to be able to mix it up against the Whalers, so you have to have a diversified offense. They have a big front line, and their linebackers also quite skilled. So if you continue to run the same plays, once they get a feel for what your offense is going to look like, their defense can make plays. It looked like Hall wanted to throw the football here. It looked like a halfback option as he had the ball in his right hand, but then decided to just keep it when he saw no one open.
And, of course, both of these sides, as for any game, but maybe more with this one because you almost get 2 weeks to prepare. Both sides are looking at tape. Both sides have look offenses, look defenses, so they're going through, drills and plays that the other side would go and, and pull out of their playbook. So, what these players are seeing on the field shouldn't be, foreign to them. They should be pretty much prepared to and know what to expect.
And that's why on Thanksgiving Day you usually see a trick play or two as teams try to catch their opponents off guard. And one of the things that I talk with Chris quite a bit about is diversified looks in your formation. And when you stay with the same formation or a formation that tips the play, after a while the defense usually can read that. And Durfee here has kind of stayed in the same type of formation throughout spread look throughout the first half here. New Bedford's been able to get a handle on what Durfee wants to do here offensively.
And no rush to the line either, using a lot of the play clock. 3rd down and 10. They did get back the yards that were lost, but it is 3rd and 10. Tom trying to do a reverse, and it's not going to pan out. The Whalers and Caleb Jordan snuffed that one out like he knew the play was coming.
Yeah, Javon Hawley met way back at his own 36-yard line and spun down. So a loss of just under 15, loss of 14 on the play, and Durfee will be forced to punt against the wind.
That's a shame. After such a great run back return on the kickoff, the Hilltoppers had great field position, and that drive completely stymied by the New Bedford defense, who were reading every play. And I think you're getting to that point now, like you said, you got to mix it up a little bit, and I'm sure that's going to be talked about in the locker rooms at the half as we come up on 2.5 minutes. But, as hard as it is to pass, I think you're going to have to try to go to the air just a little bit here. Oh, was that touched?
No, it was not. Very short punt. Again, down at about the 41-yard line that time. So that was a total of 22 yards. So not much in the punting game against the wind, and that's worked in New Bedford's favor here in the last 2 possessions. This time they'll start at their own 42.
Yeah, I saw Tyler Medeiros. Yeah, see, the hand just came down. I thought he touched that. Chris, did you happen to see? I see you shaking your head. No, I can see you from the booth. I don't think we have Chris.
But he was right there. He could see it. He was lined up very close to where the ball was down. So
yeah,
New Bedford takes over at their 42.
So 1st and down for the Whalers. High snap. Medeiros grabbed by the jersey and taken straight down to the turf at the line of scrimmage.
Whalers have just over 2 minutes here, so plenty of time with 2 timeouts remaining for New Bedford.
And Medeiros was able to gain a yard there. That little dive forward while he was grabbed on that jersey. So 2nd down and 9.
Expect New Bedford here, Evan, to be very conservative, trying to keep the ball between the tackles. But with that, they'll spread the field. No one in the backfield, so empty backfield for the Whalers. First time here this morning.
Yeah, and these seniors, for the Whalers, they want it bad. They got a taste of their first 2 years. Varsity did not win, their first 2 years at the school, because Durfee won at New Bedford in 2016. Then here 2 years ago, the 8-6 game, which I don't think anybody could predicted that score, except for, as it turned out, one of my colleagues, Gary Lee, who did post 8-6 on Facebook when we were polling people on our page, and he had it right. But then last year, this group winning on Thanksgiving, they got a taste of it, and they don't want to give it up here in 2019, their senior year. So we have a timeout. Let's see if we got Chris back. Can we hear you, Chris?
I hear you guys.
There we go. I got you back.
Yeah, no one touched that ball on the punt. I know Durfee Hilltoppers on the sidelines here were saying someone touched it, but nobody touched that. We were right next to that. Joe, we talked about timeouts. This would be huge if there were 6 timeouts, because obviously Durfee could call and maybe get the ball back. But it's very difficult. You can see New Bedford just wanting to run the clock out here, get to the half at 12-0. I'll try to talk to Coach Brown before the half once they go to the locker room. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully we get in touch with him.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And, yeah, that's a good point, Joe. We think about we see coaches for Durfee not happy right now talking to the official, but we mentioned the timeouts. Yes, only 3 keeps the game moving, but it does again force you to manage the game a little bit differently, because Durfee could have theoretically gotten this ball back if they make a stop. Medeiros going to the air, almost picked off for the 2nd time.
Yeah, he was looking for Nigel Palmer that time. No, check that. He was looking instead for number 33, Cameron Perry, and the pass was out in front of Perry, nearly intercepted, as you mentioned.
And Javon Holly was defending, and Holly actually had the best look at it because he was in front of the intended receiver for the Whalers. So going to bring up 4th down, and of course the incomplete pass stops the clock for New Bedford as well. So Durfee will have a little bit of time to work with.
Yeah, I was surprised to see New Bedford throw the football there.
Yeah.
I thought they'd keep it on the ground, see if they get a first down, because, again, high school football, very different from college and especially the NFL. You can run the ball and come up with big plays, as we saw on the 66-yard touchdown run from Palmer. So keep it on the ground. New Bedford instead decided to throw the football incomplete.
Good snap. Oh, they're going to fake it.
Oh, Barros is going to keep the football.
Barros diving forward, and he's going to get there.
Just the power there from Shahid Barros, as he was met 2 yards shy of the first down and just ran over the Durfee defender.
There was tons of room on that far side, and the sheer momentum was not going to stop Barros. You see it on the replay.
That's a 14-yard run for Rashid Barros on the fake punt. And New Bedford has enough for the first down at the 47-yard line now of Durfee with 58 seconds left, first half.
So they're on Durfee's side. Medeiros looking to pass again. Tons of time going to go down the field, and it's incomplete. Good coverage from the Hilltoppers. They were looking for Barros, and it was Ronald Ginty who said no thanks.
Yeah, once the Whalers came up with a first down, now you'll see them throw the football. But Medeiros so far here this morning is 0 for 4 on 4 pass attempts. That time, Barros, ball a bit behind him, could not come up with it.
Would you say that's the weather conditions? Are you surprised?
Absolutely. Whalers do throw the football quite a bit, and they're able to move it through the air. But certainly the weather here today a factor. You can see they're able to throw it a bit better with the wind, but still 4th incompletion here in the first half for Medeiros.
Yeah, with the new structure as well, I know it's open, but that new Durfee High School kind of creating a little bit of a wind tunnel here on the field. I'm looking at the flags on the structure way on the other side on the roof, and they're whipping. It's just, field level's not as bad, but it's really whipping. There's a lot of wind, as they said there would be today, coming out of the north.
Whalers burn their 3rd and last time out here in the first half with 42 seconds left, and the football at the 46-yard line after the 1-yard gain by Palmer.
The Durfee band getting their equipment and props and getting ready for their halftime show. You see the Durfee cheerleaders on your screen. Trying to get the fan riled up. Probably also just trying to stay warm. Trying to keep moving out there.
Yeah, it's a good idea to be moving around here this morning because the wind, as you mentioned,
yeah,
it is gusting at times, and the forecast had it gusting as high as 50 miles an hour, so we've seen the wind play a factor here.
Medeiros looking to pass here, and it is complete to Barros. Barros down the sidelines and now pushed out. He was actually out of bounds a little sooner than what you saw. So on 3rd and 9, the Whalers do convert with 33 seconds, so still plenty of time for New Bedford to try to grab another touchdown here before halftime.
Just a simple drag route there as Barros came across the formation. New Bedford has used this quite a bit, and he was wide open and able to get the athletic Barros into the secondary and gets it all the way down to the 24-yard line. So a gain of 22 there for Rashid Barros on the first completion of the morning for Ethan Medeiros.
Yeah, and I got to talk to Shahid, and he told me that he only moved here 4 years ago. He actually moved from Philadelphia, and so he didn't actually know much about this rivalry, but he's come to appreciate it and really love it. So, he's turned into a Whaler at heart for sure. Medeiros almost down to the turf, now picking it up, and he's going to run and get tackled shy of the 15.
Clock will run here, so New Bedford has to get right to the line of scrimmage with under 20 seconds left here now in the first half. Need to clock the football.
Montero had the tackle, and you see Medeiros calling everybody in. The official taking a long time to place the football. Cost him about 10 seconds. With 8 seconds, they'll spike it, but really a long time to place the football.
And again, you're at the mercy of the umpire who spots the football for you, and as you mentioned, Ethan, and rightfully so, it took a long time to get the ball spotted, and then Medeiros able to spike it, but with only 8 seconds left. High school football, that's probably one play. In the NFL, they can usually squeeze out 2 plays in 8 seconds, but again, here in high school, plays develop a bit slower, decision making again a bit slower, so probably the last play of this first half.
All right, so this should be 3rd down and 3, right? Because the spike counts as a down.
It's
so 3rd down and 3.
And again, you can here technically run a couple of plays if you can get rid of the ball quickly, but if you get a first down, the clock does stop till the chains are moved, but very hard to imagine getting more than probably just this last play.
Oh, yeah, I'd be looking at either a mad dash or they're going to take a shot to the end zone, and that's going to have to wait because there's a false start. There was movement at the line.
False start here. So no time should have come off the clock. If it's really a false start penalty, it should be back at 8 seconds, and they've made the adjustment.
Our scoreboard operator, Margaret Gannon, all on top of that. So we are still at 8 seconds after the false start. 5-yard penalty will back the Whalers up. Actually just outside the red zone. So wondering if we will see Medeiros still go to the air here.
Whalers like to use a deep in cut with Barros here. Let's see if that's what they've set up. It's a play that the Patriots use quite a bit with Julian Edelman. So look middle of the field for Barros on, again, that deep in route.
Here he comes. Crossing, looking for him, incomplete. Tackle is made.
Only 5 seconds came off the clock.
Yeah, so there you go. 3 seconds left, and on 4th down, the Whalers are going to have a chance, or one more chance to try to hit the end zone before they hit the locker rooms. But good patience from Medeiros here and had plenty of time to throw. A lot of coverage up front for them.
And again, that deep in route, but Durfee with zone coverage, middle of the field, had a host of defenders there and really no chance for Barros to come up with it.
I have to say, Joe, I mean, last year, again, Durfee with no wins last year. It was a tough year for this very young team. I mean, I've seen some winless seasons before, but, in those winless seasons, last year they really weren't that bad defensively. It's just the offense just couldn't find a rhythm. This year they have found it a little bit, and the defense has continued to be pretty decent for the Hilltoppers. Medeiros looking to pass. No time left. Airmailing it to the end zone, and it will be caught, but Ooh.
They'll say it's a touchdown.
Wow.
Remember, in high school football, you only need to get 1 foot in. It looked like he signaled a touchdown.
There was a signal for a touchdown initially.
It looked like the back judge signaled a touchdown, but now out of bounds. Well, I don't know. Let's, again, take a look at the replay there, because initially it looked like he was signaling a touchdown.
It certainly was. The back judge did say touchdown initially.
Yeah, or he certainly raised his hands, and that's not the way you make that call, but obviously out of bounds, so no touchdown there for the Whalers as the first half comes to a close.
All right, we have Chris Santos standing by with, I believe, Coach DeBrito from the Whalers. So we're going to cut to you, Chris. Take it away.
Coach, interesting first half. You start off the game with a pass, it gets picked off, and then all of a sudden you come down and they fumble at the 1 yard line. So it's been a game of back and forth in the momentums, but has it changed your game plan with this weather?
A little bit. The wind is playing, a little bit havoc what's going on. So we got to just make some adjustments, and they're playing great. And again, it's Thanksgiving morning, so they were going to come out. But definitely, the wind is a little bit of a factor. But we'll make adjustments and come on in the second half.
Yeah, the run game, obviously, Palmer with the big run that's set it up early for the first touchdown. Do you expect to use him a little bit more, and maybe that full house backfield too?
Yeah, I mean, they're packing the box a little bit. They know it's hard to throw, so they put more in the box. So hopefully, we can, spread them out a little bit more and look to try to establish more of a run game the second half. Again, if hopefully the wind dies down a little bit, so we can try to get the ball to sheet a little bit more. But again, we'll make the adjustments we need to make.
That's Coach DeBrito. Second half, right after this.
All right, thanks, Chris, and thank you, Coach DeBrito. So the teams are in the locker room, Joe, as we're back here in the booth. And New Bedford, they're going to be putting on this show first. The Whalers marching band on the far side of the field, so hopefully the wireless camera can stay out there on that side for us so we can cover that for you and all your New Bedford fans at home. But before we cut to the halftime show, we got to hear from the players. Always love this part because, the players are the ones on the field. It's not the coaches that are playing, it's the players. So while I attended practice, I got to speak with 5 different players between the two teams, and here's what they had to say.
Yeah, I'm excited because we're really underdogs, to be honest, because they have a great older team, experienced, and we really just have to come out and play our best.
You can expect competitiveness most definitely from us. We're going out there to compete. We know they're not gonna just lay down for us, so you're gonna see some tough football going on.
It's a tradition, and we all know it's a big rivalry, so it'll be a good game. Because there's a lot of tension within who's the better. And we think that we can go out and put up a good fight and take this home for us.
It's a rivalry game, so record's out the window. So, we're going to be expecting a lot of big things, a lot of different things. We see that every year. But plan on playing a big game, taking it serious. I moved here when I was a freshman, so I didn't really understand the culture around here. But these past 4 years, really grew on me, and it means a lot.
It's just crazy having the whole city in the stands. It's so much pressure on you, and getting to play on Thanksgiving is just an amazing feeling. I can't wait.
Good pressure, though, right?
Yeah.
And, Joe, as they said, the whole city, both sides, great fan bases here in not the greatest conditions, but everybody comes out to support high school football and high school sports in general.
Yeah, always big crowds on Thanksgiving Day, and even with all of the construction and the obstacles to get here, certainly a nice crowd on hand for this one. And you heard the players, and all of them refer to Thanksgiving Day as the biggest game of the year, generally, and certainly here in 2019, nothing really any different.
All right, one half of football done here on Thanksgiving morning. Halftime show next. We invite you to stick around, and Joe and I will be back for the third quarter after the bands perform on the field. You're watching live coverage of Thanksgiving Day football on Fred TV and New Bedford Cable Network.
Rob Perry, Dan Marshall, Claire Brelt, Matt Brady, Sarah Cadeau-Pacheco, and the drill designed by Gillis Willett. This year's show is titled Another Brick in the Wall. At this time, we welcome to the field the 2019 BMC Durfee High School Hilltopper Marching Band. The band is under the direction of Jay Trelaw. Assistant band director is Alex Olivier. Horn line instructor is Ryan Lewis. Visual technician is Maria Lauer. And color instructor is Holly Ann Farry. The drum major is Demetrius Crow. Color guard captain is Dorothy Barrows. And the percussion captain is Nicole Silver. The band's 2019 program is entitled Elemental. Weather is all around us, every moment of our lives. Since the dawn of man, we have been fascinated by the beauty, mystery, and raw power of the elements. There is no question why the ancients believed the weather to be the emotions of God. Elemental blends the visual and sonic elements of our atmosphere into a vivid musical narrative. We hope you enjoy the show.
It is.
Did you see Shane?
this time, we would like to introduce James Ferrero, treasurer of the History of Broad Club, who will be reading off Coach 50-50 raffle winning ticket. Coach, you want to talk to me?
All right, we are back after the halftime performances. What a nice job. Both bands performing on the field as they always do. We were hoping we'd get Coach Brown, but I don't think we'll be able to get to him here at the start of the third quarter. So, but Joe, it was a good first half, tight game. The weather. Chris came up at halftime. He said that the ball, there's just absolutely no way to pass right now down on the
you
field.
could see in that first half, Evan, that the wind was affecting the passing game significantly. The only pass that New Bedford was able to complete in that first half was a simple drag route to Shahid Barros. So definitely anticipate seeing the ball on the ground here exclusively, I would say, for the most part, unless you're working with the wind. So that's left to right on your screen. There is some opportunity to throw the ball, but teams working against the wind will not be able to move the football through the air here.
So I was told they would have 3 minutes of warm-up, but it appears both sides ready to hit the field and just continue. We have Durfee principal Matt Damaris here stopping by the booth, the fluid booth that we have here at Durfee High School, as we get ready for the second half kickoff. Mr. Damaris, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Evan. Good to see you.
Good
Happy
to see you
Thanksgiving
too.
to everyone out there in Greater Fall River, the Durfee alumni, the families of the students that we serve each day. It's a great day. Might be a little windy, a little cold, but we all got a turkey in the oven, hopefully, and we're going to have a nice afternoon.
So, Matt, let me ask you, you've been down, in the stands, all the kids, no one's left, of course. It's a close game. What's the atmosphere? Do you feel that the Durfee fans, are they down a little bit because the team is trailing, or they still cheering just as loud?
I think they're cold. I don't think they're down.
Yeah.
Sure would have been nice to punch one in at the beginning with that interception.
Right.
But we can get the spirit going. If we can get the crowd rallied here a little bit, that six-man feel will get going, and maybe we'll see a victory this afternoon.
Well, Durfee getting this second half kickoff. Decent return from Jaden Lewis.
Yep, Jaden Lewis have a nice return. Got it out to, looks like about the 44-yard line of the Hilltoppers.
Well, one of the things I want to talk, Mr. Damaris, and, Joe, you probably haven't seen the video, but I'll tell you, the Durfee Pep Rally, and maybe I'm a little biased, one of the best around. Yesterday just brought down the field house once again. And, of course, the highlight was Dr. Malone. He always pulls something out of his bag of tricks, our superintendent. And Dr. Malone taking on UFC fighter, our security guard, Jorgen De Castro. It was quite the sight.
Oh, it was something that rivals what you see on Monday Night Raw. I mean, WWE style. Our superintendent, his spirit, and just his desire to lead our district is evident each and every day. He brings 110% of energy. He's energy incarnate, let's say. And yesterday, the field house was electric. To put 2,000 students in a field house to have an event that lasted almost 2 hours, and nothing but spirit, smiles, and joy. It says something a lot about what's going on here at Durfee in our community.
Yeah, and kudos to all those who planned it. Oliver McNeely with student government, and all the students with their contests, like the door decorating contest, the themes, the skits, everything. I mean, there's so much that goes into it, and I got to experience it as a student. Now experience it as a staff member and someone who's working on the crew to bring it. For Fred TV, bringing it live to the schools in the district. So, now we see the elementary schools. They're getting to see what goes on at Durfee before Thanksgiving. So, we're starting them young, Joe, here in Fall River in terms of the Thanksgiving Day traditions.
Well, the future Hilltoppers, we got to get them going.
Right. Third down and short here, 48-yard line. Hilltoppers cross midfield, need 2 yards to keep this second half drive going.
The Durfee's kept the ball on this drive so far on the ground with Hall between the tackles, and short here on third down, so it'll set up a 4th and about 2, it looks like.
Yeah, Jay Hall, again, a 1,000-yard rusher this season, just his sophomore year, but he has really been shut down by the Whalers defense. No gain on that play, going to bring up 4th and 2, and you see Durfee, they're staying out on the field. I mean, at this point, it's so hard to kick in these conditions, so hard to pass. They're going to just keep it on the ground, most likely.
This is a big play, Evan, against with the wind. You want to convert here and move the football when you have the wind at your back. So going forward here on 4th and 2.
We'll wait the snap here, 4th and 2. Huge play for the Hilltoppers. Pressure is coming. Oh, big block from Hall. The pass, though, going to be incomplete.
New Bedford, as I mentioned earlier, they usually do blitz on 4th downs. You saw it again there, and Durfee incomplete, looking in the flat, and could not find Hawley.
So a 4 and out, if you will, for the Whalers defense, stopping the Hilltoppers to begin this second half. Mr. Damaris, let's talk about, when we get back from Thanksgiving, it's already going to be December because it's so late this year, Thanksgiving, the 28th here of November. So, leave just a short amount of time before the Christmas break, New Year's break. Some of the things going on here at Durfee, maybe, for the season of giving, if you will. We have some initiatives going on here at the high school.
Oh, there's a lot planned. One of the things I'll highlight that maybe isn't in the spirit of giving, but everyone needs to know about this. Next weekend, we have our Durfee Theater Company production of Mamma Mia.
That's right.
We got a show at 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday nights, and then we have a matinee Sunday afternoon. The talent is amazing. Durfee Theater never disappoints. They're an award-winning outfit, and this year's version is no different. The voices that you're going to hear, come on out, Fall River support a tremendous production. Go out in town, have a nice dinner, and come on by and see a show. You will not be disappointed.
Mamma Mia, the music of ABBA, no small feat. That's some big-time music to take on for high school theater, so should be a great show as we see another big run here for the Whalers. I believe that'll be enough to move the chains again.
That's Palmer on a gain of about 10. After Barrows on a jet sweep picked up 20 on first down, so back-to-back first downs it appears here for the Whalers.
Yep, chains are moving, so knocking on the door to the red zone are the Whalers once again, up 12-0 here in this third quarter. Anything else, Mr. Damaris, as the game has continued on here? Anything else that is coming up for Durfee in the district here?
Oh, there's so much. I mean, I could fill up the next couple hours talking about stuff. You and I are standing looking out at the skeleton of a brand new school. Right. And there's a lot of attention there. Another thing that the community should know about for next weekend is the Citizen Scholarship Foundation annual craft fair going on here at the Luke Urban Fieldhouse. I want to alert everyone that parking's going to be at a premium here next weekend with the Mamma Mia going on at the same time. We've got some logistics to work out. Yeah. But it's a great cause. I know that so many people come and do some great holiday shopping at that craft fair, so come on out and support.
That's a big annual here in Fall River. I assume hopefully they'll have the trolley running for some shuttling or something because you're right, parking's going to be treacherous.
I imagine they're working on that, and information will come out, I'm sure. It's the season. We got 3 weeks to lead to the next holiday. Yep. We just wrapped up a holiday canned food drive organized by students. It was a tremendous amount of support, and food went out to the food pantries. And we give. In Fall River, we give. I've never seen another community that puts it out there for others. When we're in need, we answer the call.
That's fantastic. Durfee Principal Matt Damaris, everybody. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Whalers in the midst of a potential scoring drive here. They are in the red zone, 3rd down and 5. And they'll hand the ball off to Abelo-Rinois. And he breaks the tackle and is able to, I believe, get there for the first down. So they'll move the chains again. The Whalers making quick work of Durfee's defense on this drive.
Yeah, the Whalers have used Abelo-Rinois, as I mentioned, as a running back only the last few weeks. And he's a big running back at 6'2", 220 plus. And there, just a simple give straight up the middle. He's able to stay on his feet, get enough for a first down with a gain of 6.
The ball spotted at around the 12-yard line. 1st and 10. Oh, bad snap. One of the few mistakes, and Medeiros picks it up and will scamper to the sideline. More importantly, despite losing the yards, they do keep possession of the ball to keep the drive going.
Yeah, fine play there by Medeiros to do what he could to minimize the loss. Picked up the bad snap, got a nice bounce, stepped out of bounds after a loss of about 5. So 2nd and 15 now for the Whalers with the football back at the 17-yard line of Durfee.
And Chris Santos down on the field. Whalers in the red zone once again, Chris. How are the conditions now? Look, I'm seeing the jerseys fluttering and everything. It looks like it's getting worse.
Oh, yeah, it still is windy. And if you notice on the sidelines, fellas, Nigel Palmer, no helmet on, basically could be out of this game. So it's J.J. Carry-On and Abelo-Rinois that should be doing the running for the rest of the game. So I don't know if he's injured. If we find something on that, we'll let you know.
All right, Chris. Hey, thanks for the update. That's a big loss for the Whalers if he's unable to come back.
Yeah, not sure if he suffered some type of head injury, but when they take the helmet away, usually it is because of a head injury. So Palmer had a carry on this drive, and since then has been out of the lineup. And New Bedford now facing a 3rd and 12.
Yeah, 3rd and 12 from just inside the 15. So got to get to about the 3-yard line for a 1st and goal. Although they'd probably like to punch it in right here. Medeiros is going to call his own number and keep it, but the Durfee defense smothering him after a small gain, short gain.
Yeah, so New Bedford acknowledging there that is 4-down territory, keeping it on the ground with Medeiros taking it right up the middle. And very short gain, only picked up 2, sets up a 4th and 10. But of course, from here, really no kicking game. Whalers do not have a field goal kicker. And with the ball at the 13, they're going to go for it on a 4th and 10. They cannot get a 1st down, remember, without scoring a touchdown.
You know, I think in these conditions, no one would be trying a field goal anyway, Joe, because as we said, you know, again, from Chris's eyes down on the field, even the passes are just taking a direction.
Drag route, had a man open, but he goes instead to Barros. We talked about that deep in cut, Evan, and they ran it there again with Barros lined up as the wide receiver to the left. They like to use him coming across the formation, deep in route, and it's 6.
You see it on the replay to make it 8-0. Medeiros connecting with Barros, 18-0, excuse me. And the pass, after we just said passing is probably not going to be part of the game plan moving forward, they prove us wrong again.
Only the second completion of the morning for Medeiros, but enough for a score from 13 yards out.
Yeah, that tells the story right there. When Medeiros only has 2 completions, the extra point kick is good to make it 19-0 in favor of the New Bedford Whalers.
Juanix Cunha kicking here for the first time in the season and connects on his 2nd point after touchdown attempt. Missed initially in the first score of the morning for New Bedford, but now the Whalers with a 19-0 lead after the 54-yard touchdown drive culminated with a 13-yard score from Ethan Medeiros to Shahid Barros. Point after touchdown is good, and New Bedford leads it, as I mentioned, 19-0.
Yeah, Chris, the ball seemed to come out of his hands good that time.
Yeah, that one did. It was interesting because we were right there, and he ran a 12-yard in cut, as Joe said, but he got in front of the defender. You can't let him cross your body like that. And once he did, the safety came up, but it was too late, and it was a good pass for Medeiros, one of his better ones here today. So good touchdown, a good route by Barros, and it's 19-0. And second half adjustments right now. It's the run game for New Bedford that's really dictated that drive right there.
Yeah, we hear, and as Joe, alluded to earlier, that's a play that the Patriots use a lot with Edelman and in Coach DeBrito stealing that basically from the Belichick playbook because it has worked out for the Whalers on the season. It worked out right there, and they're up by 3 scores. They'll have to have a holder here. You see, again, the wind just such a factor that you need someone to hold the ball. It won't stay on the tee. Low line drive kick is a good one. It's caught in the air as it just kind of floated to Holly. Holly runs into a wall, bounces off, and then makes his way to the 40. Should have been stopped at the 30, so he gets 10 bonus yards out of that, Joe.
Vinny Von Suna with the tackle for the Whalers. And New Bedford has had a problem with kick returns during this season. And here it's really worked in Durfee's favor. It's been their offense, basically, throughout the morning. Returning kicks, they've had good field position after the returns, this time at the 41-yard line. So let's see if Durfee can muster some offense here as they go for their second possession with the wind at their back here in the second half.
5:38 to play in the third quarter. Live Thanksgiving Day coverage for you on Fred TV and New Bedford Cable Network. Evan Massoud and Joe Cabral with you in the booth. Chris Santos down on the sidelines at field level. And we want to, again, give a big shout-out to John Methia and Sociable. Thank you so much for letting us use the equipment, the broadcast truck, our Fred TV crew, New Bedford Cable crew, working tirelessly to get this prepped yesterday, this morning in the rain, to bring you this. It takes a village to make this happen. I'm stealing from my colleague Pamela Martin. She loves that term, but it is the truth. It takes a whole crew to bring this together, and a lot of hard work, so we really appreciate it.
No gain on first down. 2nd and 10 for the Hilltoppers with the football still at the 41.
And you know what? We don't talk about pro football as much, in the booth because, we don't have a lot of video to cut to. But Mike Ferreira, who's directing the broadcast today, the never-ending kicking saga for the Patriots. Just when you think that
appendectomy.
Nick Folk is just had an appendectomy, so he is out. And man, it's just incredible because, he's actually looked pretty good in a couple of games.
He has been very good in general, making his extra points and converted on some key field goals, even though he missed a pair against the Cowboys. Still had
That's crazy.
Has had a good stretch so far kicking for the Pats, but out with an appendectomy.
Chris, do you do any kicking?
I'm sure he wish he did right now.
Yeah, right.
There's Abelarino blitzing from the outside. Once New Bedford figures out your offense, as I mentioned, they're very aggressive with the blitz on the outside, and Abelarino that time in the backfield to bring down the quarterback Thomas.
Yeah, we'll see on the replay here, it just was not going to happen for the Hilltoppers here. A big-time stop by the Whalers to force fourth down. But, I think my biggest surprise here, you look at the numbers, and, again, it's always so hard to just go off numbers. But, when you don't see both teams play each other before today, it's kind of what you have to do. And, New Bedford giving up 24 points a game, and they've shut out Durfee here through almost 3 quarters. So I think that's probably my biggest surprise is we've, seen one half of football and then some, that Durfee really, after fumbling the ball at the end zone at the goal line in the beginning of this game, they've really been able to do nothing offensively.
Illegal substitution called against Durfee. It'll be a 5-yard penalty. They'll mark it back to the 31-yard line.
Yeah, we saw Sebastian Inacio. He was being sent out on the field. He seemed to be a little confused. Maybe they didn't have enough players on the field, so they had him run out, and now he just came off, and I think that's what the penalty got called on, that illegal substitution. So Durfee going to have to punt here, 4th and 18, and hopefully it'll get past.
Kick was nearly blocked.
And it goes out of play.
Bedford had a host of defenders in the backfield. The ball was kicked out of bounds. Let's see where they spot it.
That one, though, really a wobbly kick. No spin on it. Kind of just floated, and the wind took it almost like a knuckleball in baseball. Just kind of hurling it up there.
We've talked about the wind blowing across the field toward the new structure, and you could see it there, ball up in the air, and then just blew it out of bounds. And New Bedford now will have the football at their own 42.
The Whalers in business again with control offensively. That's where they like to be.
That's J.J. Carrion on the carry.
Yeah, number 27. Again, you heard, Chris told us on the sideline that Palmer is on the sidelines for New Bedford with no helmet on. So disappointment for him. Senior running back out of the game right now for the Whalers. 5 yards on the carry. Halfway to a new set of downs. 2nd and 5. Have to get across midfield for it. Medeiros passing across the field to Barros. And Barros breaks a tackle, dives forward, and is going to be maybe a yard short or even half a yard short. What a great second chance effort there for Barros.
Yeah, just a wide receiver screen there for Barros. And as you mentioned, Evan, great second effort to pick up about 4 and set up a 3rd and 1.
Checking in for Durfee, Derek Cordova, number 18. Adding some manpower to the secondary for the Hilltoppers.
Abelarino in the backfield. Look for him straight ahead here on a handoff. No, Medeiros will just follow Abelarino.
Medeiros has some room on that far side. He's going to be stood up, still on his feet, refusing to go down. Those quick feet and that agile body of his, that wrestler body, stopped at the 30, but he refused to go down a number of times.
That's a 19-yard gain for Ethan Medeiros and enough for a New Bedford first down.
We said he's a catalyst for this team, and it's shown here today. Hasn't been able to pass as much as he'd like to, but he's getting it done in other ways to help lead the Whalers offense. 70 seconds left in the third. 1st and 10 Whalers from the 30-yard line of the Hilltoppers. Now coming up on 60 seconds.
7 carries now on the morning for Medeiros for 72 yards.
I think he's got more than any running back for either side.
Well, in that first half, remember, we had the big play from Palmer.
Oh, that's true.
And he had 9 carries for 85 yards in that first half. But Medeiros this time on a keeper, back to the line of scrimmage, and nothing more.
Number 51 coming off the field for Durfee. That's Ignacio.
Clock really does move when you keep it on the ground and have completed passes. Take a look at it here as Medeiros had to just scramble and then step out of bounds.
Yeah, Ignacio looked like, you see on the bottom of your screen, might have twisted an ankle or landed wrong, because a little bit of a grimace there. Get some help and did get off the field. Didn't really notice a limp, but so 2nd down and actually 11 after a loss of a yard. Medeiros cutting in and going down at the 25 for a gain of about 6 yard lines. Did you see anything, Chris, there from Ignacio going down for the Hilltoppers, number 51?
It'll be interesting to see if he comes back in the game or not. The trainer's talking to him right now, and I'll keep an eye on it to see. She's just kind of making sure he's got all his senses as he puts his helmet back on. But, Joe, we talked about second half and what New Bedford has been able to do, and they're trying to pound the ball right here with their big men. They're trying to wear down this front four of Durfee, and it's starting to work for them. They've given Medeiros plenty of time to throw the ball, and they're giving them opportunities to run with Abelarino, a bigger back, obviously, with Carry-On coming in and Medeiros himself. So they're just trying to wear down Durfee. Remember, this is a young team, sophomore, not as big as some of the New Bedford seniors. So I think that's what they want to do. They just want to wear them down.
Yeah, Chris, you alluded to the fact that New Bedford's offensive line is one of the strengths of the team, and with the Souza non-brothers, but Souza's nonetheless, and then Tyreek Williams, among others on that offensive line. New Bedford does have a tendency to wear down their opponents in that second half. We saw a lot of the running game there in that third quarter. And New Bedford now seemingly in control, leading at 19-0.
Yeah, this is a young sophomore, junior kind of team for Durfee, and they're good. They got some talent. They got some playmakers, and they will be back definitely next year and the year after that. So Evan talked about them when they were with the Falcons and they went down to the championship. This group, if they stay together, I think Taylor Brown's got himself a good little team coming up in the next 2 years.
All right, Chris Santos on the field, and you mentioned, Joe, that the running game Chris did as well, wearing down the opponent. New Bedford's time of possession here, superseding Durfee by a long shot, and they're running the ball. That makes for a short second half. This third quarter here was less than a half an hour in real time. Anytime that you can keep it, under a half an hour, that's a pretty quick quarter for a 12-minute game clock.
Yeah, the Whalers able to keep it between the tackles primarily. Double reverse here this time for New Bedford. And Cameron Perry on the carry, and a late flag from the back judge. We've said it a billion times. That's usually a holding call.
It's a turnover. Looks like Perry fumbled the ball.
They'll say Perry gave up the football. They're going to decline the penalty, and Durfee will take over on downs.
There you go. Good eyes, Chris, because couldn't see that up here under the pig pile.
No, he fumbled it, and the official was right on top of it. It was just a matter of what the flag was going to be, and it was against New Bedford. So they'll decline that, get the ball, and it'll be first down, Durfee, around their own probably 20-yard line.
So it looks like on that spin move is when he had his back to us is when that ball came out. You just saw the replay at home. So Durfee will take over on the turnover for the Whalers. It's the third turnover for New Bedford.
Yeah, so Whalers have been able to overcome their mistakes, but Durfee here with a chance early in the fourth quarter.
Owen Thomas is going to get taken down.
Yeah, snowed under. Beloy Souza among those there on the sack.
And the Hilltoppers only able to muster one touchdown last year in a season that the offense struggled greatly. Again, losing last season and just only netting the 6 points in New Bedford today, getting shut out here 19-0 as we're in the fourth quarter on this 2019 Thanksgiving Day game. You know the Hilltoppers don't want to go down with that goose egg sitting on the scoreboard. They want to at least get one touchdown here, if for anything, just some pride and some confidence.
Yeah, we talked about the fact that if you are able to diversify your offense, New Bedford can struggle defensively, but if your looks are limited and your skill position players are limited and you stay in a similar formation throughout the game and your plays are pretty much basic, they'll adjust, and they have size at the linebacker position and on their defensive line, so very hard to move the football, and Durfee's had a hard time here after that first possession when they nearly scored.
Yeah, and I mean, when you take away the pass, Chris, you're down there on the field, you take away the passing game because of the weather, you have to adapt, and, you know, maybe to Joe's point a little while ago, it's you got to pull a trick play out once in a while just to at least get the thing moving, get the offense moving.
Yeah, I would like to see him flush and roll out. He's had success scrambling, just dropping straight back. The line can't hold New Bedford long enough for him to throw the ball. I'd like to see him move more like he's doing right now.
Yep. Running, passing on the
There
run.
you go.
He finds Jay Hall, and that is going to be good for a first down on 3rd down and 7. So a big conversion. Chris, you're a prophet down there on the field.
No, I like that. Listen, he's 5'6", 125 pounds, and nothing against him, but right now, for him to drop straight back, the defensive line has been getting to him too fast. So they got to flush him. They got to roll him, and if he scrambles with it, fine. He's done a good job when he scrambled.
And I think at this point, Chris, they're going to have to throw the football because Durfee is not going to be able to put 3 scores on the board running the ball. So going to need to put the ball in the air regardless of the fact that they are working against the wind.
Gain of 5 on the first down rush for the Hilltoppers. So 2nd down and 5 coming up. But as you said, Joe, the clock is running. We're under 10 minutes here in this Thanksgiving Day matchup between the Whalers and the Hilltoppers. This historic rivalry that dates back over 100 years. We're thinking 125 years based on some of the, I guess you could say, cliff notes, if you will, that we've been given. And we've heard also maybe 127 meetings over those 125 years. So long, long time. Holly still on his feet despite getting hit very hard by O'Shawn Brooks. I'm not sure if he might have been down by contact back there. I don't think so. It looks like they're spotting him where he last dove, so tough run there.
Yeah, gain of about 4 on the play, and nice work there by Holly, spinning and then finally brought down by Barros. And New Bedford's number 3, Juan, is Kuna. But still short of a first down, 3rd and 2.
Yeah, and I think Holly actually was down maybe a yard or 2 back. The replay seemed to look like his knee was down on that first tackle before he popped back up. Going to try to cut outside, and it will be a first down for the Hilltoppers. Holly converting on 3rd and short.
Obviously the challenge here for Durfee is you're down 3 scores. 3 yards and a cloud of dust will not get you there. So you need a big play. You need to score quickly to give yourself enough time for multiple possessions. And that has been a struggle for Durfee here today to move the football. And certainly nothing really big developing for them. No big plays. It's been 3 yards and a cloud of dust.
Yeah, and that's kind of, that's what New Bedford's been able to limit. They have not allowed Durfee any open lanes. They haven't had any big plays, the Hilltoppers, on offense. So, credit New Bedford. They've really done a good job. Their defenders, that D-line is just so strong. They're really buttoning up the middle, and that's why, to what Chris said earlier just a few minutes ago, Thomas has got to roll out because these plays right up the middle here are not working. Stopped right at the line and pushed back.
That was
I believe that was Montero. Yep. So a tough play there. Now it's going to bring up 3rd and long.
The clock is running, and so those last two plays took over a minute off the clock. So, again, when you're down multiple scores, and generally in high school anyway, you need big plays to put points on the board because those 20-play drives really don't happen very often without a team self-destructing.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, again, when you're saying, the clock is rolling 7:08 now. Thomas passing sideline out of play. It is caught by Holly, but he was pushed out of bounds. And that's going to be incomplete. It was a good pass from Thomas. He got it there, but, perhaps the wind might have pushed it a little bit.
And several years ago, the force out was taken out of the game. There used to be a time when the side judge could say a player was forced out of bounds and would have come down inbounds and credit the play as a reception, but no longer. And so easily an incomplete pass as they pushed the receiver out of bounds. It came down about 2 yards out of bounds, setting up a 4th and about 8.
So a long 4th down here. Hilltopper's going to burn a timeout with 7:04 to play in the game. And, again, with the score the way it is, 19-0, Durfee has to go for it here on 4th down. There's no way that they can kick the ball. So pretty much, you're almost at that point now that unless they convert here on 4th down, you could probably comfortably say that New Bedford has this one in the bag. You might even be able to say that now, but see how this 4th down play goes and go from there.
Yeah, certainly Durfee needs something here, and they need a big play on this drive to get points quickly. And you can always resort to an onside kick, and a fluke possession will give you time to get enough points on the board. But you need a big play, and certainly the first big play you need here is a conversion on 4th and 8.
Durfee breaks the huddle. The ball is at the 48-yard line. Got to get across to New Bedford's 44. So 4th and 8. And Thomas came back to the sideline along with Jaden Lewis. So they're going to stack up some receivers here on the near side. They sent Lewis to the far side. Pressure coming from New Bedford. Thomas going to send it down the field, and it's going to be picked off by O'Shawn Brooks. The first interception for the Hilltoppers, and the Whalers with a happy dance down at the 25.
Just a seam route there, and O'Shawn Brooks playing as the lone safety, just stepping up and making the interception. A ball intended for number 8, Brian Cruz, and New Bedford takes over with the football at their own 24-yard line.
Chris, that was right in front of you, and Cruz was double-teamed pretty quickly.
Yeah, he was, and that's a sophomore mistake because he just stared at the receiver down the seam route, as Joe said, and Brooks was all over it. He knew exactly where that was going. He was just waiting to step in and pick it off.
So according to reporter Chris Santos, an easy pick for the Whalers, who take over with less than 7 to play here in the game.
You anticipate the Whalers just keeping the ball on the ground here and grinding clock. Now under 7 minutes left in this one. 19-0 New Bedford leads it. Gain of 3 on the carry by J.J. Carrion.
And this is the point where you're just going to keep plugging it right up the middle, working inside the pocket. 3 yards there, 4 yards there. I wouldn't expect to see Medeiros go to the air at all.
New Bedford looking to improve to 8-3 on the season.
A big stop there for the Hilltoppers. That's going to be a loss of a yard as Abelo Rinwa taken down behind the line of scrimmage for a negative pickup there, 1 yard on the loss.
Yeah, lots of size, as we've mentioned, from Abelo Rinwa, but he needs to stay between the tackles and straight ahead football. When he bounces it to the outside, loses the advantage of all of that size and really doesn't have the speed and quickness to turn the corner. That time, a loss of about a yard on the play, as Evan mentioned.
Yeah, and New Bedford has the advantage because they're up 19-0, so they can try a few things here in the latter part of the game, but New Bedford's had the Whalers have had so much success just running the ball straight up the middle. Medeiros going to actually pass. It is picked off. Tipped and then picked off by the Hilltoppers.
Yeah, surprising that New Bedford would look to put the ball in the air. Really, it gets Durfee back in the ball game here as they have fine field position inside the New Bedford 30. It looks like they're going to mark it closer to the 20-yard line. And, again, a surprise there. And a pick by Durfee's number 18, Derek Cordova. And the Hilltoppers with their best field position of the morning and the football right at the 20-yard line.
Medeiros' second pick. It was intended for, I want to say that was number 2, St. Louis.
Or Barrows. It's hard to tell since the ball was deflected. Barrows was in the area as well. And Durfee short a player. They have to get Montero on the field here quickly.
And they're going to get him set, or they're going to get called on a delay just in time. They get the play off. Hall with 2 spins, a pirouette, like he's dancing out on the field, and he's going to get some positive yardage out of it with a little bit of style points.
So Hall picks up about 3, and only a sophomore at 6'1", 190. So you'd anticipate Durfee trying to build their offense around Jay Hall over the next couple of years, and that's what Chris was alluding to earlier. When you have young players, you look forward, and Jay Hall should be one of the key performers for Durfee over the next 2 years.
Yeah, Hall has the height and the size. You know, then you have Holly, scrappy back as well. Hall turns, Hall to the end zone. Touchdown Hilltoppers. The Durfee players on the board here, but maybe too little too late. 4:38 to play, but it is 19-6.
Again, very surprising that New Bedford put the ball in the air, because it's hard to think that Durfee would have been able to get 3 possessions and put points on the board if New Bedford simply punted it away here. But the turnover results in a 3-play drive of 20 yards in length, culminated by the Jay Hall touchdown run. And now Durfee within 2 scores, and certainly you would anticipate here with 4:38 after this extra point attempt, they'll go for the onside kick.
Jay Hall does the kicking here.
They're going to go for 2.
But they'll go for 2. Yes, Joe, that's right. They will go for 2. Try to make it 19-8. Oh, bad snap.
High snap, and the quarterback Thomas just dumped Tyreek Williams.
So no good there on the 2-point conversion. It is 19-6 as the Hilltoppers do find the end zone for the first time, thanks to Jay Hall. Jason Hall with the big-time run to score. You know, I was about to say when he took off, you know, Hall's got the size. Holly, the other back, kind of small, scrappy, quick to tackle. And, you know, Holly plays basketball as well. He had a great freshman year last year, and we saw more of that on the court. He's so fast, and, of course, you know, the basketball court so much smaller than a football field, so his speed really thrills on the hardwood as well. So, you know, he's a great athlete as well. So I think those are your 2 main guys you really should be looking for. You know, Brian Cruz has been a good receiver for Durfee. He'll be a senior next year. He's pretty tall, 5'11", not bad. I mean, not the tallest guy, but not bad, and he can come up with some plays as well. Look at this play again, the rush from Jay Hall. That's a big cut back there and an end around, basically almost a bootleg in the middle of the field.
I think we have Chris down on the sideline. Chris, looks like Durfee here definitely going for the onside kick.
Yeah, they special teams coach. They came out there. They talked about it. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to do. But, Joe, you hit the nail. I don't understand why New Bedford was throwing there. You're up 3 scores, so you go 3 and out. You punt the ball, and you force Durfee to go, let's say, 70, 80 yards to try to score. You've just kind of helped them out. They now score quickly, 4:38. Let's say you do get an onside kick. Anything can happen in high school football.
Anything can happen. And anything seems to happen more often than not in these games.
And onside kicks, again, the conversion rate much higher as you go down the lower levels. So look for Durfee here. Onside kick looks like Jay Hall with the honors. Oh, it's more of a squib kick.
Yeah. So that was not an onside kick at all.
No, not at all. It looked like they were just going for a squib kick, and you can, on occasion, recover those. It's a tactic, certainly, at lower levels where you just squib the kick past the first level and then see if you can have your outside defenders get downfield and recover, because remember, the ball's live regardless of the distance you kick it. but it goes out of bounds with the help of J.J. Carrion, and New Bedford now will have the football at the 34-yard line. So really surprised that Durfee did not go for the onside kick.
Almost as surprised as we are that New Bedford threw the ball there just 2 minutes ago.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
You know, time management here, you know, knowing the situation and knowing that you're down by 2 scores, I'm shocked that the Hilltoppers did not try to at least get it back. I mean, look where New Bedford has the ball. They're right about at the 40-yard line. If they went onside kick, they're maybe 10 yards further. You gained absolutely nothing by kicking the ball away.
Carrion with the carry has enough for a first down near midfield. And again, you only have so much time. Even if you use your timeouts, you're only going to get 2 possessions if you can get New Bedford off the field, basically with a 3 and out. And extremely hard. You need to go for the onside kick there. Hope you get it. Give yourself enough time to put points on the board and then see if you have to do it again, or maybe you can kick it away.
Yeah, and the 3 and out's not going to happen because New Bedford just moved the chains once again. Quick pitch from Medeiros.
That's Carrion.
And we're down to 4 minutes.
If New Bedford throws the football this time, I would be totally shocked. But you just got to keep it on the ground here if you're the Whalers and let the clock run.
Yeah, I mean, if they continue to convert here, you know, 2nd down and 3, I think if they get the first down, you'll probably see Coach Brown burn the timeouts. Try to at least, because now you're coming up on 3.5, 3:40 specifically, but the clock continues to roll as we line up on the near side of the pocket.
Remember, Durfee has already used one of their timeouts. Underneath handoff, Carrion.
Carrion will move the chains and then some as he's tackled just across the 30-yard line of the Hilltoppers. So New Bedford moving the ball effectively after allowing Durfee their first touchdown.
2 first downs already on this possession by the Whalers, and a little bit of a delay. Give it to Carrion, who picks up enough for the first down in Durfee territory now at the 29.
Medeiros pushed out of bounds, or runs out of bounds, actually right in front of you, Chris.
Again, clock management there, though, Chris. I don't know if you can hear us, but Medeiros needs to stay in bounds there and just have the clock run. You don't step out of bounds.
Well, I was waiting for you to come to me because that's exactly what I was going to tell you, Joe. I don't know why you just didn't turn it upfield and stay in bounds, because obviously you go out of bounds, it stops the clock. But, Evan, as you said, timeouts become important here. So, you know, when you used to have 6, it was a little bit easier for you, but now when you have 3, and I think Durfee's down to 2, it makes it tougher.
Well, that step out of bounds effectively gave Durfee an extra timeout, because Medeiros really could have just gone right down to the turf and kept it in bounds, and he didn't. 2nd down and 1 at the 21. Carrion. Will forward progress get him there? I think it might have.
Stacked up by the Durfee defensive line for one of the few times where the interior line of Durfee has been able to stymie one of the New Bedford running backs, maybe a yard on the play.
Wow, it's going to be like 3rd and inches, and it doesn't look like they're going to measure it.
And that plays in New Bedford's favor, because pick up a first down is just another down where you can run the clock.
Yep, 2:25 to go. A first down here should pretty much seal it for the Whalers, who are looking at their 2nd straight Thanksgiving Day victory. And that is a first down and more. Abelarinois tackled at the 10, 1st and goal.
And that David Abelarinois, that's where he can excel, especially in the 4th quarter. Straight ahead handoff, 6'2", 225. And Abelarinois just carrying defenders, lowers his shoulder there and just knocks a Durfee defender back as he gets it all the way to the 10-yard line.
I think that's worthy of the moniker beast mode. Abelarinois refusing to go down. Big-time player, like a house. Carrion cuts back and taken down.
New Bedford doing here what we anticipated they would have done on the prior drive, just keeping it on the ground, moving the football down the field, but more importantly, chewing clock. Picked up about 2 on that one, Evan, and now under a minute 30 left.
Yep, less than 90 seconds, and the fans starting to hit the exits now. Long walk to the auditorium parking lot here at Durfee with the construction. Parking a little bit tough. Hopefully we'll be able to hear from Coach Brown at the end of the game. We did get to hear from Coach DeBrito at halftime. We'll see if Chris might be able to get to him. Medeiros runs out of bounds again. That time, though, full steam ahead. Wanted to cut in, I think, for the end zone and couldn't, and really had no choice but to go out of play.
Yeah, that time just pushed out of bounds. Too much momentum as he tried to turn the corner.
So the clock stops at a minute 4. It'll be 3rd and goal from the 2 after Medeiros got them that much closer. And see the fans there heading out. The Durfee cheering section really thinned out, the student body section here, and it still amazes me. We're cold in the booth, and I'm seeing some of our students in shorts. I don't get it. I'm not seeing any palm trees, Joe.
Not today.
At this point, they're numb, so they don't even feel the cold. Touchdown Whalers for the 4th time today. The Whalers find the end zone. It was Carry-On who punched it in from 2 yards out.
So J.J. Carry-On, first score of the afternoon now as we've made our way into the early afternoon. And Carry-On in for 6, giving New Bedford a 25-6 lead. They'll attempt the extra point.
Kicking with the wind here.
One is Kuna.
Barros will hold. Oh, high snap. He's going to stand up and take it, try to pass or maybe run it. Calling for it is Brooks. Hand is up. He's wide open. Barros wants to take it himself, and I think he does get in.
No, they'll say he stepped out. He dove for the end zone
did.
and the pylon, but they'll say he just stepped out.
He had Brooks wide open, multiple chances. He probably should have thrown it. Not that, I mean, it's all, you know, water under the bridge at this point. The touchdown was just for fun, but 25-6 is the score with 61 seconds to play.
So New Bedford will end the season at 8-3. Durfee will drop to 4-7, but the prospects still are bright for Durfee over the next couple of years.
Yeah, very close there. You know, you can hear our director Mike Ferreira in our ears. This replay very close to.
Obviously, he hits the pylon, so it's a matter
I think it's
of
that elbow.
Did he step out of bounds?
Or the elbow hitting the turf right
he's
there.
Short. He's short.
Yeah, just short.
Once your elbow hits, it's the same as if a knee is down.
Great shots by our crew, our sideline camera, walking around with Chris, getting that shot for us. Now you mentioned Durfee. Yes, they will fall to 4-7, but you know, after an 0-for season last year, this has been a good bounce back. And then, you know, New Bedford's going to look very different next year. So many seniors on this team, Joe, that, you know, will be moving on. So the Whalers are going to have a very different look the next time we see them on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, it certainly will be the case. Durfee with returning players, New Bedford with a lot less of that. So it'll be interesting to see what the Whalers are able to do next season.
And, of course, New Bedford will be the host school next year. Good kickoff. Taken by Lewis. And Lewis is tackled from behind. And that was Brooks. I thought so. Yep, O'Shawn Brooks with the tackle. Lewis with a decent return. And Durfee will go on what is likely going to be their final drive. 56 seconds to play in the game. Coming up on 12:30 p.m., almost a 2.5-hour game here. But a good game. You know, we've seen some mistakes. We saw some good moments from both sides, and then again, you know, a couple turnovers for either side here. So, but you know, considering the conditions, not, you know, horrible gameplay by any stretch. Just a challenging day to play football.
teams were able to clean up some of their mistakes here in the second half. New Bedford did have the turnover on the interception and a fumble, but Whalers just too much here for Durfee on Thanksgiving Day.
Thomas passing. Open is Holly on the far side. There's a flag coming in the backfield, perhaps a late hit on the QB. It was Thomas back there.
It is a personal foul, roughing the passer, called against New Bedford.
Yeah, it looks like Bill Souza got in on Thomas well after the, here's the replay there. Oh yeah, had the chokehold right around the neck. Yeah, can't do that. So personal foul for the Whalers, and that'll give the Hilltoppers a push forward to the other side of the field and a fresh set of downs. From the New Bedford 41. 40 seconds though, the clock is rolling. Thomas cuts back in. Oh, he lost the ball, and he's going to fall on it, but it will be a loss of about 6 or 7. And again, the clock will continue to roll here. 20 seconds, and I don't think we'll even see another play. Thomas disappointedly walking to the sideline.
Yeah, I think if you're Durfee, you just let the clock run out here.
Yeah, 10 seconds to play. The Whalers take it for the second year in a row on Thanksgiving, 25-6. The final score, 2-1-0. The Whalers victorious at Mac Aldridge Field. They haven't won here in 4 years. The last time they were here, they lost 8-6 today. They put up 25 points en route to the big Turkey Day victory. They'll keep the trophy.
Yeah, senior-laden squad here for New Bedford, and too much for the younger Hilltoppers. And also the interior line on both sides of the ball, Evan, really dominating here for New Bedford. Their offensive line and, of course, defensive line. Players going both ways for the most part on the interior for New Bedford. And it's still about the game in the trenches, and New Bedford was able to move the ball on the ground between the tackles. Durfee was not. And then defensively, it was New Bedford for most of the morning in control of a limited Durfee offense. Really, Jay Hall, the only player to make anything happen for Durfee here this morning.
Chris, down on the field, your final thoughts. I see you heading over to the coaches for the Hilltoppers.
Yeah, fellas, you know, Joe hit it there too in the second half, and it was obviously tough field conditions at the beginning with the weather. And New Bedford made some second half adjustments, started to run the ball a little bit more, and you know, just ground control mostly to keep the hands out of Fall River and come back with a win, and that's what they did. And so ball security in that second half was big, and they just dominated the ground.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Down on the field,
I'm going to try to get one of the coaches if we got some time.
Yeah, we have some time here.
Joining me now is one assistant coaches, Harry Lowe. And Harry, last time you guys were here, you took it on the chin to Durfee, but it's a good win here this afternoon.
Yeah, it was not very good field conditions, and the wind was very tough. We couldn't really throw the ball today, so we had to pound it out. And you know, we had a big run from Nigel again to get us going. And Ethan, you know, Ethan's Ethan. I love that kid. He's had a great year for us, and you know, we got those 2 touchdowns right away, and that kind of took a little weight off our shoulders. You know, we were a little apprehensive coming in because they had won like 3 out of their last 4 games. So it was a good win for us today.
Harry, what was the second half adjustments that you guys wanted to do? Coach DeBrittle said he'd go in there and try to figure something out. What did you guys really talk about, and what did you want to do, really pound the ball?
Yeah, and not only that, they had 9 guys in the box, and what they were doing is they were always blitzing a linebacker to the side of the back. So we kind of adjusted that by trying to get to the outside a little bit and spread them out, and when we did that, it worked out for us.
Well, congratulations, Coach. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your team. Good job. Back to you guys up in the booth.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thanks for all your hard work today out on the field. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thanks, guys. You too, and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. So, Joe, your final thoughts here as the Whalers take it 2 in a row.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit here. New Bedford with the advantage up front, the size up front, the interior line, and then, of course, a senior-laden squad, senior quarterback, senior running back, senior wide receiver in Rasheed Barros, and just a much more experienced squad. And Durfee here today, limited on what they could do offensively against the Whalers. Because of that, unable to put enough points on the board to offset New Bedford's offense, and 25 points here on a windy day, certainly more than enough for New Bedford.
All right, folks. Well, upcoming on Fred TV in just 2 weeks, winter sports will be kicking off, and we'll have some Durfee coverage for you right before the Christmas break. We will see girls hoops versus Somerset. We will see Prenda Cup hockey as Durfee squares off against Diamond at Driscoll. And we'll also see boys hoops against Conley as the Elsbury Street rivalry continues in the Fieldhouse. So you'll get to see a little bit of winter sports before the Christmas and New Year break on Fred TV. Big shout out once again to John Methia and Sociable. Thanks so much for letting us use the truck. And we appreciate the crews behind the scenes, both networks here in Fall River, Fred TV, and New Bedford Cable Network, teaming up to bring coverage to both communities here this year. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, sir. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Evan, happy Thanksgiving certainly to all of our audience. And for the New Bedford Cable Network viewers, we'll be doing the same. We'll be out there with winter sports here coming up. Certainly lots of basketball from both New Bedford High and Greater New Bedford Vocational Technical High School. So stay tuned if you're a New Bedford resident and a New Bedford sports fan of the high school variety.
All right, for all our crew, for Chris Santos, for Joe Cabral, I'm Evan Massoud. Final score one last time from Mac Aldridge Field. The New Bedford Whalers 25, the Durfee Hilltoppers 6. Have a great afternoon, safe travels, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.